They said Christmas dinner was canceled. Then I saw their holiday photos without me. Christmas had always been Olivia's favorite time of year. The lights, the warmth, the traditions, it all made her feel like, no matter how hectic life got, she could always count on this one night to bring everyone together. Every year, her family gathered at her parents' house, filling the home with laughter, the scent of home-cooked meals, and the sounds of holiday music playing in the background. It wasn't always perfect. There were occasional disagreements and the usual family drama, but in the end, it was still family. So, when she received a text from her mother, Donna, on the evening of December 23rd, she assumed it was just a reminder about what time to arrive. Instead, the message made her heart sink. "Hey, sweetheart, I'm so sorry, but we're going to have to cancel dinner tomorrow. Some last-minute changes came up. We'll do something next year, okay? Love you." Olivia reread the text, her stomach twisting with unease. Cancel dinner? That had never happened before. What kind of last-minute changes could be so urgent that they would cancel the one holiday that had always brought them together? She hesitated for a moment before typing out a response. "Oh, okay, everything all right?" A few minutes passed before her mother responded. "Yeah, don't worry about it. Just a busy year. Things got a little hectic. We'll make it up to you soon." Something about it didn't sit right with Olivia, but she didn't want to push. Maybe it really was just a chaotic year. She knew her mother had a habit of being vague when she didn't want to get into details, and she had always been taught not to make a big deal out of things. Still, she couldn't shake the disappointment. She had spent all week looking forward to it, even picked out a thoughtful gift for each family member. Now it seemed like Christmas was just off. Taking a deep breath, she forced herself to shake off the unease. It's just one holiday. They'd reschedule. Next year would be better. Trying to convince herself that nothing was wrong, Olivia curled up on her couch with a Christmas movie, hoping the holiday spirit would still find her, even if her family didn't. The morning of Christmas Eve, Olivia woke up still feeling unsettled. She tried to shake off the lingering disappointment, convincing herself that her mother had a good reason for canceling dinner. Maybe something truly unavoidable had come up. Maybe her parents weren't feeling well, or someone in the family had an emergency. There had to be a logical explanation. She spent the day distracting herself, running errands, and keeping busy. It wasn't until she got home that she absent-mindedly opened her phone and started scrolling through social media. That's when she saw it. Aunt Carol had posted an album titled Best Christmas Ever, with over a dozen photos from the family gathering. Olivia's breath caught in her throat. What? She clicked on the first picture. There was her mother, her father, her siblings, her cousins, aunts, uncles, everyone, gathered around the dining table, glasses raised in a toast. The next photo showed her little cousins opening presents, their faces lit with excitement. Another captured her brother and sister laughing together as they exchanged gifts. Christmas dinner hadn't been canceled. Her heart pounded as she scrolled through the images, each one more painful than the last. They had lied to her. Not only had the dinner happened, but it was clear they had all enjoyed a beautiful evening together, without her. Her fingers trembled as she checked the timestamps. The photos had been posted hours ago. They had all been there while she was sitting alone at home, thinking they were spending Christmas apart this year. Tears burned at the corners of her eyes. This wasn't an accident. It wasn't a miscommunication. They had deliberately left her out. Her phone buzzed, snapping her out of her daze. A text from her mother. "We'll do something next year. Love you." Olivia let out a bitter laugh, but there was no humor in it. She stared at the message, reading it over and over again, as if nothing had happened, as if she wouldn't find out, as if her exclusion was something so small and insignificant that she wouldn't even question it. Her stomach churned. A lump formed in her throat, but it wasn't just from sadness, it was anger. She had spent years making excuses for them, telling herself that maybe she just wasn't good at staying connected, that maybe she was the one who drifted apart. But now she could see the truth clearly. They didn't forget about her. They chose to leave her out. With shaking hands, she closed the photos and put her phone down. A cold, hollow feeling settled in her chest. This wasn't just about Christmas dinner anymore. This was about everything. Every time she had felt like an outsider in her own family. Every time they had made plans without her. Every time she had convinced herself she was overreacting. She wasn't overreacting. This was real, and for the first time in her life, she wasn't going to pretend it didn't hurt. Olivia sat motionless on the couch, her phone resting in her lap, the screen still glowing with the images of the Christmas dinner she was never invited to. A heavy weight settled in her chest, pressing down on her ribs, making it hard to breathe. The betrayal was so blatant, so deliberate, that she could hardly wrap her mind around it. But then, a darker realization crept in. This wasn't the first time. Her mind reeled back to a few months ago, her birthday. She had always tried to downplay her expectations, knowing that her family wasn't the best at making a big deal out of birthdays. But this year had felt particularly lonely. She remembered waiting all day, expecting at least a text, a call, something. The silence had stung, but she had brushed it off, convincing herself that everyone must have been busy. Later that night, she had called her mother, hoping to hear her voice and maybe even plan a belated birthday dinner. Donna had picked up after a few rings, sounding distracted, almost guilty. "Oh, honey. Happy birthday. Sorry, today just got away from me. We'll celebrate soon, okay?" Olivia had laughed it off as she always did, swallowing the sting of disappointment. It wasn't a big deal, except a few days later she had seen something that made her stomach drop. A picture on Facebook. It was posted by her cousin Mark's wife, captioned, "Such a fun night celebrating. Family time is the best." The image showed a long dinner table at a restaurant, candles flickering, plates of half-eaten food scattered across the table. At the center of the photo, Donna sat, smiling, clinking glasses with her siblings and nieces and nephews. Olivia's heart had pounded as she took in the faces around the table. Her entire family was there. Everyone except her. She had stared at the photo, willing herself to believe there was some logical explanation. Maybe it wasn't actually her birthday dinner. Maybe it was just a random night out. But then she had seen the comments. "So great to celebrate Olivia," one relative had written. "We missed her, but it was a beautiful night." Another had added. They had celebrated her birthday without her. She had felt something break inside her then, but she had forced herself to let it go. Told herself she was being paranoid, that it was just a misunderstanding. But now, sitting alone on Christmas Eve, staring at yet another family gathering she wasn't invited to, she knew the truth. This wasn't a mistake. This was a pattern. Her hands trembled as she clicked back to Aunt Carol's Facebook page, scrolling through the album again. But this time, a new photo caught her eye. One that sent a fresh shockwave of betrayal through her body. It was a picture of her childhood bedroom. Except, it wasn't hers anymore. The room was completely emptied, the walls repainted, the shelves cleared of her childhood books and framed photos. Instead, a neatly made bed and a row of suitcases sat in the background. The caption read, "So happy to have Samantha staying with us. We made sure she has a cozy place to call home." Olivia's stomach dropped. They gave her room away. She zoomed in on the photo, taking in every painful detail. The familiar blue walls she had begged to keep as a teenager had been covered with a generic beige. The posters and pictures she had left behind had been removed, leaving the space cold and impersonal. As if she had never even lived there. Tears blurred her vision as the reality of it hit her. They hadn't just forgotten about her. They had erased her. No one had told her. No one had even bothered to ask if she was okay with it. Her room, her last real connection to the house she had grown up in, was gone. Given away without a second thought. Her mother hadn't even mentioned it. Had acted like everything was fine, like Olivia still had a place there. But she didn't. For years, she had convinced herself that she was just overthinking, that her family loved her, even if they were a little careless sometimes. But now, there was no denying it. They didn't just forget her birthday. They didn't just exclude her from Christmas. They had removed her from the family entirely. And the worst part? They didn't even think she'd notice. Olivia sat frozen, staring at the photo of her empty childhood room. The betrayal clawed at her chest, tightening around her lungs, making it hard to breathe. Her entire life, her memories, her place in the family, had been wiped away without a second thought. And now, she had proof that it wasn't an accident, wasn't a mistake. They had chosen to erase her. her hand as she gripped her phone, barely able to type out a message before deleting it. No, this deserved a call. Her thumb hovered over her mother's contact. She took a deep breath, bracing herself, then pressed the call button. The line rang once, twice, 3 times. Olivia clenched her jaw, her heart pounding in her ears. Finally, Donna picked up. "Hey, sweetheart. Merry Christmas." Her mother's voice was light, almost cheerful, as if nothing was wrong. Olivia's blood boiled. How dare she? "Cut the act, Mom," she spat, her voice trembling with rage. "I saw the pictures. I saw everything." There was a pause, a long, uncomfortable silence before Donna sighed, the fake warmth disappearing. "Honey, I don't know what you mean." "Don't," Olivia snapped. "Don't lie to me. You told me Christmas was canceled. You said there were last-minute changes, but there you all were, sitting around the table, laughing, celebrating, without me." Another pause. Then in the most casual, dismissive tone, Donna finally spoke. "It's just easier this way, sweetie. You've been distant, and we didn't want any stress." Olivia felt like she'd been slapped. "Easier?" she repeated, her voice rising. "What does that even mean? You didn't want stress, so you just decided to cut me out of the family?" "It's not like that," Donna sighed. "You know how things get. We didn't want to upset you." Olivia let out a sharp, bitter laugh. "Upset me? Mom, you excluded me from my own family. You had dinner without me, celebrated without me, gave away my childhood room without even telling me. And you think I'm the one who's been distant?" Donna's voice turned defensive. "You've been so busy with your life, Olivia. You hardly call. You're always working. We just assumed." "Assumed what?" Olivia cut in. "That I wouldn't care? That I wouldn't notice? Do you have any idea how hard I've tried? How many times I've reached out, made plans, only for you all to brush me off?" Silence. And in that silence, Olivia finally saw the truth. She had never been a priority to them. She had spent years trying to fit in, trying to be included, trying to believe that she still mattered. But she didn't. And now she was done pretending she did. Olivia sat in silence, gripping her phone so tightly that her knuckles turned white. The conversation with her mother still rang in her ears. "It's just easier this way, sweetie." Those words echoed in her mind, looping like a cruel joke. Easier for who? Certainly not for her. The anger that had simmered inside her all night finally reached its breaking point. If her family wanted to pretend she didn't exist, then fine. But she wasn't going to stay quiet about it. Her hands were steady as she scrolled back to Aunt Carol's Facebook post. The photos of the Christmas dinner. Her entire family smiling, laughing, exchanging gifts, all while she sat alone, completely unaware. She took screenshots of every picture, making sure to get the captions that gushed about what a perfect night it had been. Then she went back through her mother's posts. That's when she saw it. A comment from her cousin Samantha, thanking Donna for gifting her a room to stay in permanently. Olivia's stomach twisted in disgust. My childhood room. My place in that house, given away like I was never there. She took another screenshot. Then she opened Instagram. Her fingers moved quickly, fueled by years of hurt, neglect, and being pushed aside. She had always kept quiet, had always taken the high road, let things go, made excuses for them, but not this time. This time, she would make sure they felt the same humiliation they had inflicted on her. Her post was brutal and to the point. "Funny how my family told me Christmas was canceled this year, only for me to find out through Facebook, of all places, that they actually had a huge dinner. Without me, no invite, no explanation, just straight-up exclusion. I guess I shouldn't be surprised, considering this isn't the first time. Remember my birthday? Oh right, I wasn't there for that either, because they forgot to include me. And let's not forget how my childhood room was given away without so much as a phone call. But sure, I'm the one who's been distant, right? Merry Christmas to me, I guess. Family drama, forgotten daughter." She tagged every single one of them. Then she posted it. And for good measure, she went to Facebook and did the exact same thing. She expected some backlash, expected the family group chat to explode, but she wasn't prepared for how fast it all escalated. Within minutes, her phone started blowing up. First, it was her mother, calling her repeatedly. Decline. Then, a text from her sister. "Olivia, WTF? Why would you post this? You're making Mom cry." Good. Then her cousin Samantha, who had happily taken her room, messaged her. "I didn't know it was a big deal. It's just a room, Liv. Why are you trying to ruin Christmas for everyone? Olivia let out a sharp laugh. Ruin Christmas? What about the Christmas they had already ruined for her? The family group chat lit up like a Christmas tree. Her mother, I can't believe you would air our private business like this. This is not how you handle things, Olivia. Her aunt, this is so immature. You could have just talked to us. Her brother, we didn't mean to hurt you, okay? Just take the post down. But Olivia didn't respond because for the first time in her life she had nothing to say to them. The moment Olivia hit post, she knew there was no turning back. Her phone vibrated relentlessly, the screen lighting up with message after message. The family group chat had erupted. Her mother was the first to respond. Olivia, what the hell are you doing? Take that post down now. Her sister followed quickly behind. This is so unnecessary. You're blowing everything out of proportion. Then came the guilt tripping. Uncle Greg, we're family. Family works through things privately, not by embarrassing everyone online. And Carol, I don't understand why you're doing this. We love you. Why are you trying to make us look bad? Olivia scoffed as she read the messages. Now they cared? Now that their perfect little image was at risk? She watched as some family members tried to play peacemaker. Cousin Jake, can we all just calm down? This is a misunderstanding. Let's talk about it. Olivia, sweetheart, I'm sure they didn't mean to hurt you. Let's not let one Christmas ruin everything. But Olivia wasn't backing down. Not this time. Her phone rang again. It was her mother. Decline. Another call. Decline. A third. Olivia clenched her jaw, finally answering. Olivia, what are you trying to accomplish? Donna's voice was tight with anger. You're humiliating the family. This is so childish. Olivia let out a cold laugh. Oh, I'm humiliating the family? And what exactly do you call what you did to me? Pretending Christmas was canceled while you all celebrated without me. It wasn't like that. Donna snapped. You're being dramatic. You've been distant, and we thought it was best to... To what? Olivia cut her off, her voice shaking. Erase me? Cut me out of the family without even telling me? Give my childhood room away like I never existed? Silence. That's when Olivia felt it. Her mother had no real excuse. There was no justification. They had done this because they simply didn't care enough to include her. I have spent years trying to be part of this family, Olivia continued, her voice stronger now. I was the one who called, who texted, who made the effort, and you all just decided I didn't matter anymore. Well, guess what? I don't need any of you either. Her mother exhaled sharply. You're making a mistake, Olivia. No, Mom, Olivia said. I'm finally seeing things clearly. She hung up, staring at the screen as more messages flooded in, but Olivia felt something new, power. And as the cracks in their perfect reputation started to spread, she finally knew she had won. As Olivia sat in the silence of her apartment, her phone still buzzing with notifications, she felt something shift inside her. For years she'd let her family control the narrative, convincing herself that she was overreacting, that she just needed to try harder, that one day they'd finally see her, include her, love her the way she had always loved them. But that day had never come. It never would. She picked up her phone and did something she should have done a long time ago. Her mother's contact, blocked. Her sister, blocked. Her aunts, uncles, cousins, all blocked. One by one, she erased them from her life just as easily as they had erased her from theirs. She took a deep breath, staring at the empty screen. For the first time, she felt in control. The family group chat kept lighting up, the messages growing more frantic as they realized she wasn't responding. Her mother had tried calling 3 more times and then had sent one final text. Donna, I hope you're happy. You've destroyed this family. Don't expect to be welcomed back after this stunt. Olivia's fingers hovered over the keyboard. A few months ago, she might have tried to explain herself, to reason with them, to beg for their love. Not anymore. She simply deleted the message and blocked her mother's number. It was time to let go. The next morning, Olivia woke up with a clarity she hadn't felt in years. She wasn't just cutting ties, she was starting over. She had spent too long trying to hold on to a family that had never truly wanted her. Now, she was going to build a life that didn't revolve around people who only saw her as an afterthought. Within a week, she had started packing up her apartment. A fresh start. A new city. A new life. She found a small place 2 hours away. Nothing fancy, but it was hers. A space where she could finally breathe without the weight of her family's rejection pressing down on her. For the first time, she wasn't moving somewhere out of obligation, wasn't staying in a place just to be available for a family that didn't even want her there. This was for her. Only her. And that thought alone made her smile. 2 weeks later, just as she was settling into her new home, Olivia got a message from an unexpected source. Her phone buzzed, and she glanced at the name on the screen, Aunt Diane. They had never been particularly close. Diane was her mother's cousin, someone Olivia had only seen at big family gatherings over the years. Curious, she opened the message. Aunt Diane, "Hey Olivia, I saw your post. I just wanted to say I understand more than you know. They did the same thing to me years ago. Cut me out, pretended I didn't exist. I know how much it hurts. But I also know that walking away is the best thing you'll ever do. If you ever want to talk, I'm here." Olivia stared at the screen, her chest tightening. She wasn't alone. For years, she had believed she was the problem, that she was difficult or distant or simply unworthy of love. But now she realized this was never about her. This was just what her family did. And Aunt Diane? She was living proof that surviving it was possible. With a small smile, Olivia typed back, "Thank you. That means more than you know." For the first time in a long time, she felt something warm settle inside her. Validation. She had spent her whole life trying to prove her worth to people who would never see it. Now, she was finally free. Olivia never thought she would feel this light, this free. A year ago, she had spent Christmas alone, blindsided by a betrayal she never saw coming. She had sat in the suffocating silence of her apartment, staring at photos of her family celebrating without her, feeling like she had been erased. But this year was different. She curled up on her couch with a cup of hot chocolate, watching the snow fall outside her window. Her window. In her new apartment, in her new city, in a life she had built for herself. Cutting them off had been the hardest and best decision she had ever made. At first, it was terrifying. Letting go of family, even a toxic one, left an emptiness that was hard to ignore. But that emptiness had been temporary. Because in its place, she had found something better. Peace. She had landed a job she loved, surrounded by people who actually appreciated her. She had made real friends, ones who didn't guilt-trip her, ones who showed up for her, ones who made her laugh until her stomach hurt. And for the first time in her life, she had put herself first. A few months ago, she had taken a solo trip to Europe, something she had always dreamed of but never thought she'd do. She wandered the streets of Paris, drank coffee in a quiet little cafe in Rome, and stood at the edge of the cliffs of Moher, staring at the vast ocean, realizing just how small her past felt in comparison to the world ahead of her. She was finally living. And as if she needed any more confirmation that she had made the right choice, she had recently gotten an update from Aunt Diane. "You'll never believe this," Diane had said over the phone, amusement clear in her voice. "Your mom and Samantha had a huge falling out over the house. Apparently, your mom was expecting her to move out after a few months, but Samantha just made herself comfortable. Now they're at war over it." Olivia had laughed. Of course they turned on each other. Without her as the scapegoat, the family had imploded. And for the first time in years, it wasn't her problem. This Christmas, she wasn't waiting for an invite that would never come. She wasn't wondering why she wasn't enough. She wasn't mourning a family that had never truly been hers. She was happy. And as she took another sip of her hot chocolate, she smiled to herself and thought, "Best decision I ever made."